And without further ado, I will now introduce our next guest speaker, who is Barry Hill, who's an associate professor from the University from Northumbria University, sorry. And Barry is going to talk to us about writing for publications. So, Barry, welcome to the floor, and thank you very much in advance for your time.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you all. So I've been invited to speak to you about publishing, and I know in terms of advanced clinical practice, there's a real emphasis on the clinical component. So the pillar of clinical practice is always the most prominent. And I suppose one of the key things that are now, once you're established in your post or you're moving forward from a trainee position, is how do I improve my profile and how do I publish my work so that I can establish those 4 pillars completely. And so writing for publications is a really good way of embedding the research that you do. And I know in some of the conversations that were just being had, it's all around what is the advanced level of practice and what kind of differentiates an advanced practitioner from somebody who's not advanced or advancing. And one way to do that and make that more normalized is to publish work and encourage people to become more knowledgeable about your roles. So without further ado, I'm Barry Hill. I'm an associate professor at Northumbria University, and I teach and profess, if you like, advanced clinical practice, critical care, and nursing science. So I'm a registered nurse by background. In terms of publishing, I've written 9 books, 135 chapters, and 60 peer-reviewed articles, hence why I'm doing a bit of consultancy. And most of my publications are within advanced practice. So I do I'm a consultant editor at the IJAP journal, which is the International Journal for Advancing Practice. And that's a journal for all health professionals. It's a very inclusive level of practice journal. So we don't mind what your discipline is. We want it to be diverse and very much mixed. And we want an opportunity for everybody to publish in that journal. It is international. It is peer reviewed. So that's really beneficial. And I also do the clinical series editing for the British Journal of Nursing, of which we have an advanced clinical practice series within that journal for all health professionals as well. So that's a little bit about me. So there's just a bit of detail on there about who I am. So why publish then? It's very daunting and people do get worried. There might be some people in the room that are very well published. There might be some people that think, I really need to get my work published. I would say that the rewards outweigh the challenges by far. It's quite tricky when you first start to publish because you're putting ideas down. You are getting peer reviewed. So sometimes if it's the first time you're writing, to have people give you feed forward sometimes feels like your ideas and your research are being challenged. And they are to a certain degree, but people want your work to be factual and they want it to be, within the public domain and be honest and at its best, really. So lots of the people that do peer review are experts and they want your work to be inclusive and factually based. And once you kind of digest that element, it's quite nice and comfortable to write. I suppose thinking about what this means for you as a person, as a professional, why do you need to get your work published? Well, as an advanced practitioner, in my view, I did my RCN Advanced Nurse Practitioner Masters in 2012. So it's 11 years old now. And my understanding of advanced level of practice is there's 4 pillars, not just one. So working on the research pillar and the leadership pillar means you must publish your work, you must lead the discipline, you must, make sure that people understand who you are and what you do in order for advanced practice to be accepted and embedded in healthcare culture within the UK and abroad. One of the things you must consider when you're writing is who's your audience. So people talk a lot about what type of journal they should publish in. It all depends on what your work's about. If you want clinicians to read your work on ground level and you're writing opinion pieces or comment pieces, then clinical journals are absolutely the place to go. If you want high impact and you want research impact, then you'd be looking for high quality quartile 1 and 2 journals, which I'll talk about in a moment, and those kind of things, high impact factor journals. Again, there's pros and cons for both types of journal, whether they be clinical, professional, or research focused. So to begin with, I'd say work smart, not work hard. The first thing I believe you should consider is to set up a Google Scholar account. It is free. It's great because it gives you a H index, which means that when you do publish your work, Google Scholar will use metrics to find out how impactful your work's been. Also, it's quite a good place to look to see what work is impactful. So if you're considering doing a study or a piece of research, you can look up on Google Scholar some of the highest impact or H-indexed work to see what it is that people are actually downloading and reading. And that might steer you towards the topic that you'd like to research about. Always think about your target audience, and that's absolutely a given. And think about your career options and value of your publication. So where is it you want to be? Again, lots of practitioners would like to go into consultant level practice. There's enhanced level practice, advanced level practice, which includes consultant level practice. So it's not just one area of practice here. There's lots of development, so there's lots of ways to go. So when you're thinking about where do I want to be, where do I want my career to take me, you'd be thinking about your H index, so how impactful your work is. A Scopus index, so am I publishing in a reputable journal that has Scopus indexing, and quartiles. So typically speaking, quartile 1 and 2 journals are deemed to have the best quality in terms of research depth and breadth. Okay, but like I said earlier, it depends on what your work's about as to where you might decide to publish. I'm sure anyone that's working within academic practice in the room, you'll be aware of the REF framework, but some people may not be. So REF is a way of evaluating research in terms of its impact. So REF has been and gone, and now we're working towards the next REF. But generally speaking, what people consider is a 4-tier framework. So you can see that you have REF papers that are deemed 1-star papers, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star. And I've underlined the keywords within this framework to say, if you was to do some research within your advanced or advancing practice area within your discipline, and it has some recognition nationally, then you're probably going to have a 1-star return. And you can see then if it has an international impact, it would be 2 stars. If it's internationally excellence in terms of its originality and significance, it would be 3 stars. And then the highest you can be awarded is a 4-star paper, which is world leading in terms of its originality and significance. Now, due to the vocational aspect of most of our disciplines, it's very, very common for our work to be awarded a 1 to 2-star recognition in REF. But that's not to say we can't achieve 3 and 4 stars. But if you think chemistry, biology, people that are creating vaccines and curing cancers, they're going to be the 4-star REF return papers. But we just try and make sure that the work is original. It's not been done before, ideally. It has some significance to the population, and it's rigorous as well. So recognising opportunity. So most of our journals are written typically by academic staff, because when you work in academic practice, it's expected that you publish because you have scholarly time. However, what I would say, particularly as an editor and a consultant editor for IJAP, is that we wholly encourage clinicians And I believe there's ample opportunity to write about your expertise because you're the ones that have the expertise. You've got the voice. So we need to hear about your work and your stories. And that can be through things like comment pieces. So comment articles are typically 800 words. If you think about it, it's a 1 page of A4 article where you are voicing an opinion. So it might be about the lack of understanding around advanced practice. It may be the differences between, ACPs and enhanced practitioners, for example. So those kind of things. What's your voice? What's irritating you, or what's satisfying you? Those 800-word pieces are really valuable. There's also research opportunities. So we also accept research around qualitative, quantitative, mixed methods, even projects and innovations. Anything like that you're doing within the scope of advanced or advancing practice is really, really useful. Because we all like to know about these workplace innovations and what's taking place as well. So choosing a compelling topic is really important. Thinking about the length of your paper and the journal's criteria. So typically a journal article is around 3,000 words, all inclusive. Okay, so it's not like an essay where you get 3 words in your tables and put diagrams in. The way that businesses approach this is it's how many pages you're printing on. So 3,000 words inclusive of all content is mapped towards the amount of pages that are available per article. Avoid any kind of topics that make you summarize rather than analyze. Okay, because summarizing something is okay, but we prefer a critical discussion or an analysis of your topic. Pick something that interests you, that you're passionate about, and choose a topic that you generally can find literature and material on to make it easier to write. There are some common pitfalls. So, thinking about some of these that you can see on the screen. One of the things I'll mention a couple of these, but an essay is not an article, but it can be. So all of you, well, most people have done advanced practice, master's programs, or they might have done modules and done a modular-based route. But most of this work is really important and it can be shaped into an article and updated. And again, if you're working with people that are in trainee positions or working through their masters and you supervise them, then you can do some collaborative work with them as well. It's important that you just think about what peer reviewers are telling you, take on board their critique, and just use it in the way it's intended. It's intended to reshape your work and make things easier for you and more kind of transparent in your research articles. One of the things I always say is get someone to proofread your work, and that's not in terms of, well, it can be in terms of your spelling and your grammar and things, but actually it's about the topic. So if somebody was to pick up that article and read through it, would they understand what it's about? Are you using language that's understandable, cross-discipline? Because you want your work to impact healthcare and patient care, not just your discipline, nursing practice or physiotherapy practice. Each journal will have their own audience, so make sure that you have a topic that aligns to the journal's needs, because that means that you're more likely to be successful with that journal. So like I said, IJAP is an international journal with advancing or advanced practice for all disciplines. So if you can tick those 3 boxes, you're in. Okay. And typically think about issues like your headings, your subheadings, how you structured your article and the journal style, but they're all in the author guidelines. So I'll show you these now. So all of the author guidelines are available for all journals, and they do kind of give you some top tips and top hints, and I'll go through these on the next slide. One of the messages I would say was be patient. If you don't hear anything for a few months after submitting, call the publication or email the editor, because they'll be able to give you some feedback. You are obligated to submit your work in one journal at a time rather than multiple journals for peer review. So that's best practice as well. Prepare yourself for the process. Be ready to kind of rewrite, edit and rewrite. which is great because it means your article is going to be amazing when it's in the public domain, and it's going to be there for a very long time. So you want it to be as perfect as possible. It does take some time. So we typically try and get our reviews done in about 30 days, but it depends on how busy the journal is, how popular it is, and how many people are submitting. If you do get a rejection, then consider resubmitting it somewhere else. It's typically because it's not the right fit for a journal. It's not your work. It just means the fit's slightly out. So you can see here that IJAP is double blind peer reviewed. It's part of MA Healthcare, which is part of the Journal of Paramedic Practice, British Journal of Nursing, Prescribing Practice, and another load more. Okay, they're really kind of a very, very large publisher. The submission should be like an assignment, so double line spaced, numbered pages, and they should include call outs in the text. So if you've got a table or a figure, which is a drawing or an image, you should have a call out within your work to say, see figure 1, see figure 2, see figure 3. There's always two parts of a journal submission. So there's a title page, which is your personal information, and then there's an anonymous manuscript of 3,000 words, and these should be submitted separately as separate documents. And we will always proofread your work and send you proofs to accept or reject at the end. Typically, we're looking for title pages, anonymous manuscripts, tables and figures should be included. And if you want to, which most people don't, to be honest with you, you can upload data, video files and audio files, but it's probably not going to be necessary. You can see here, I know it's a little bit small, so I think these are going to be circulated. But what you'll be able to see, should be able to see, is there's an abstract at the top, which is typically 150 words to 200 words. We ask that you use subheadings to structure your article, and that you have some good conclusions. If you can include 5 to 6 searchable terms or keywords, 3 to 4 key points, and then we ask for 3 to 4 reflective questions as well per article, and that's within our IJAP guidelines that are available on our website anyway. References use a CSE system, which you'll probably be more familiar with, AAPE and Harvard, but the CSE system just means name and year, so we tend to use that process as well. So it's just to kind of make sure that if you follow the journal guidelines, you're more likely to be successful. Okay. I do have some examples of different types of article for you within the last couple of minutes. So a lot of people say, well, is a comment piece valuable? It absolutely is. If you're doing a project and you just want your project to be known about, a small comment piece might look something like this. So like I said, it's typically 800 words, 1 page of A4, and you can see this particular project was a comment around advanced clinical practitioners in haematology and oncology and the work they're doing with photographic evidence that would have traditionally belonged to medical colleagues. So they're expressing their innovations using, citations and tables and things. That's really good for their CV and their advanced level of practice and their acumen as an advanced practitioner as well. Another type of article, these are much larger, as you can see. This is a 3,000 word peer-reviewed article around undertaking consultations and clinical assessments in advanced level practice. And this spans over 6 different pages, includes tables, paragraphs, as you can see, subheadings, bullet points. It's interesting to look at, and it's factually correct, and it's also aligned to the audience. So this series, the Advanced Clinical Practice series, was aimed at trainee ACPs and qualified ACPs as well. And that's just the last part of the section. And that's the end of the seminar.